For those of you keeping score, question number 3. We'll be starting with you, Mr. Russell. Gentlemen, what are the 3 top skills or values that you possess and are unique to you that are different than your opponents?
Wow. I'm not going to step out and say that I'm the only person with these abilities or traits, but I will say that these are my 3 things. First, I am the real leader on this stage. It's a proven history that I've got a track record of leadership. Up to this point in my life, I've led my life thinking, how can I be a better leader for our country? Second, I've got the education to back up all of the decisions that are going through Congress right now. I've got a majority of the education to be able to help solve these problems. And lastly, I've got good job experience with big projects that will help me wrap my arms around what's going on in Congress. Very briefly, you talked about earlier, Liz, that I was selected to go to the Air Force Academy at the age of 18. My congressman and my senator sent me there. I was pretty proud of that, earned my engineering degree, was selected again to go to Naval Postgraduate School, and then took it upon myself to learn finance. Why? Because in the military, you don't learn a whole lot about finance. You don't learn about how the private sector works. I wanted to understand that better for later when I wanted to leave the military, perhaps. That education is so important right now. It's so important. We have unbalanced budgets year after year. We have entitlement programs that are taking us down. We have cap and trade legislation that's on the table. I'm the only one here with oil and gas experience. I can talk to you about the real impact of cap and trade. Climate change. I have a meteorology degree. I'd like to hear some of the other arguments here at this table about what they think about climate change, but I can argue scientifically with people that sit on panels in Congress and they talk about climate change and what legislation they're going to pass. I can do that with my education. Last, I told you that I work for ExxonMobil as a senior project engineer. I work every day managing large budgets and large projects, and I want to take that to Congress. Thank you.
Well, the first reason is an easy one. I'm the only one born in Texas out of the 4 candidates. So thank you, God, for that. So, well, that should be enough now. No, just, you know, running for Congress at the age of 31, you know, I'm not a wealthy person. I'm a journalist. I don't make a lot of money. It was a real sacrifice for me and my family, and I appreciate my wife, you know, going along with this. You know, I guess you have crazy ideas. But it takes a lot of guts to do something like this. You know, one of the things that truly defines me from the others is the ability to stand up to my own party and to stand up to the opposition. I've had so many people tell me, oh, you shouldn't do this, you should wait, you should run for another office, why are you doing this? You have to have a vision for what you want to do. You have to be willing to step out and lead and say, our country is going in the wrong direction, and I don't see anyone out there addressing these issues. I will stand up, even if it means going against our party. There's a lot of, you know, precinct chairs who don't like me. A lot of people, I tell them who I'm running against, and, you know, they give me a dirty look. But you know what? I don't care. I'm going to do what's best for the American people, what's best for the American families. I don't care who it upsets. I don't care whose career it ends. I'm going to do whatever I possibly can to do what's best for America. And unfortunately, I couldn't think of a third thing in that time, so thank you.
I got it right here. With so much at stake in Washington, now is not the time to send unproven, inexperienced representatives to fight for us. I'm the only candidate in this race with the experience and a proven conservative track record who can fight successfully against the liberal Pelosi-Obama agenda. I'm already leader on cap and trade, on health care. It's top Republican from an energy state on Ways and Means. We're leading the fight against those tax increases and shutting down our production here in the United States. I think probably my greatest strengths, when I stay in touch in a big way. I never moved to Washington. I live here in South Montgomery County. I've commuted to work for 13 years, 1.5 million miles, staying in touch with the communities and neighbors that I represent. It's hard to be away from my family, but I never want to be in that bubble from Washington. I held 53 town hall meetings this August, September, the most healthcare town halls of any member of Congress, because I wanted to give you a voice. I do telephone town hall meetings. You've probably been on the line with me. That's my opportunity to hear from you. That's why I live in this community. I know the issues. That's why I've risen to leadership posts on so many key committees. I offer solutions like the Spending Reform Act, which puts a cap on the federal budget. It sunsets obsolete agencies. It puts a moratorium on earmarks. And yeah, it forces Congress to deal with the entitlements. And finally, I do vote my principles. I do vote my principles. There are times that you may not agree. There's times my wife doesn't agree with how I vote, and that's real pressure, I can tell you. But I work hard, I study issues, I listen to you carefully, and I vote sound principles, and then I come back and I make sure you hold me accountable to each and every one of those votes. That's what I think you deserve from a U.S. Congressman.
Thank you.
One of the things I have up here that nobody else has, I've been in small business for 10 years. 10 years. The next closest opponent has 2 years in business. Even though it's for a large corporation, it's 2. 10 years experience. I work in large commercial construction projects. I manage very large commercial construction projects. I understand a budget. I set budgets. I help design buildings. I sit through committees. I steer committees. I sit through steering committees and lead them, gather them together, build the relationships. I'm in a highly technical field, but the technology is not the hard part. It's building the relationships with all the people that I work with. I design large-scale audiovisual systems, and I have to work with, I take everything from the vision, the people's vision who are going to use the systems and build the building. I sit at the table with the architects, the planners, designers, work with the committees, the planning committees, steering committees, church committees oftentimes. If you ever worked in a church committee, you know how fun that is. I take the project, I go all the way through planning, I build the roadmap for how we get from start to finish. Very large projects, and it's a negotiation the whole way. You have to work, and you have to negotiate, you have to move, and you have to change your plans sometimes. All the way through, millions of dollars every year, on time, on budget. I know what a budget is. I know what the bottom line is. I know how to keep my eye on the ball and get to a long-term project by breaking it into small pieces and getting it done, actually achieving things, actual achievements, building buildings and turning them over. And in the AV industry, the show must go on, so the show has to go on, whether or not someone else is ready or not. Those relationships, building those relationships and working through those committees, I think is a very important skill and something I can take to Congress. My depth of knowledge, I think, is superior at this point. My father was a professor of history, and I really understand the Constitution and the history of our nation, the Christian heritage and principles behind our foundation, and what has gotten us here so far. I think we need somebody in Congress that really understands that and how to apply it.